Okay, so giving equal time to the other side. Here comes Diane Feinstein, and everybody pretty much knows she's for gun bans 100% basically on assault rifles, etc. That might be pushing her position out all the way, but that's pretty much where she is. And I'm going to tell you, I don't agree with her 100% on some of the things, and I think there should be more specifics given as far as the time frames, etc. And I'll comment on those as we go through the video.
Welcome back to Face the Nation. We are joined now by Democratic Senator Diane Feinstein. Senator, I want to start with what Wayne LaPierre was saying. He was saying that in these investigations into anybody who's on one of these lists, when they go to buy a gun, if it is pinged, and that investigations might be interrupted by this system, and that the director of the FBI, Mr. Comey, said that that was a problem.
Well, we've worked with the Justice Department in drafting this legislation, and the Justice has sent a letter supporting it and said that it gives them a new tool. I do not believe Mr. LaPierre is correct on this, but let me say this, John. This is really a national security issue. It isn't a gun control issue, and let me explain why. The FBI has about 1,000 ongoing investigations. John Brennan told the Intelligence Committee on Thursday in open hearing that ISIL is actively pursuing operations to commit attacks in the West and bring people into Western countries, whether it's through immigration, whether it's over the border, or in any other way.
Now, let me stop it there. Now, that's the second time today that I've heard about ISIL or terrorists coming across that border, but I haven't heard yet anybody with any type of real evidence as far as that occurring. Now, is it a possibility? Yes, it is. And that's what our Border Patrol is supposed to be for, to stop these guys. And obviously, we're going to need more of them. And with the Republicans, screaming blue murder about building a wall, would that be a potential solution? Perhaps.
The fact of the matter is that it's well known that a terrorist can come into this country. They do not, they're not on the NICS list, which is the database of 10 situations where you can deny a gun. They're not there, and therefore buy a gun legally in this country. What this legislation does is give the Attorney General the authority that if there is reasonable suspicion that the person, when they do the background check, is a potential terrorist, the gun sale can be denied. It also has an appeal process, an administrative appeal process, as well as a legal process.
So that law, though, in this case, Omar Mateen wasn't on any lists when the purchase was made.
Omar Mateen would have been picked up by this. Senators Leahy and Nelson gave us an addition, which is very helpful because he was under investigation. There is a part of our bill that would cover him as well.
So if you have been under investigation over some period of time, you would trigger?
That's correct.
And what's the time period there for?
There is no time period.
So if you've ever been looked at by the FBI?
That's correct.
Well, so then what about the fact that somebody could be looked at and they, maybe the FBI got it wrong? So now they never can buy a firearm?
Well, that doesn't mean that they would be subject to being pinged. They would look at it.
I see.
And I think, as we look at life as it is today and the possibility of attack, and we hear in judiciary, we hear in intelligence, the FBI, it's investigation after investigation. And if you consider the fact that over 500 arrests and convictions for providing material support or conspiring or one of these things has occurred, you know that these things are going on, and the only way we have of stopping them is good intelligence plus a kind of net that will pick up foreigners. On the watch list, and this is important, 99.9% are foreign. Less than 0.5% are Americans. So this essentially is the watch list, which covers the no-fly list, the selectee list, and others. It is mainly foreign names given by foreign intelligence agencies, foreign law enforcement officers, plus our own.
You meant
Okay, let me add a little information to that. There are basically 2 million people that are on the watch list. And I don't know whether, and I'm going to assume that her number, as far as 99.5% of the people being foreigners, so that would leave approximately 0.5%, I'm sorry, of Americans being on that list, which translates into 100,000 people. All right, if it's 100,000 people and their inconvenience versus the security of the country, yeah, I'm going with the security of the country, so we're going to have to inconvenience 100,000 people. Let me say this. In Flint, Michigan, you had 100,000 people that couldn't drink the water. They didn't go in, okay, and do a damn thing for those people, and they still have problems with their water system. That's 100,000 people, and their state government and even the federal government basically haven't given a damn about those people as far as getting their problems fixed immediately. So if you can inconvenience that 100,000 people, then you can inconvenience another 100,000 people as far as purchasing a firearm. Water is a necessity of life. Purchasing a firearm is not.
in the appeals process, and that one of the criticisms of this is that this is a list kept for a different reason. The people, it's now being used, and there are lots of people on that list that it's poorly kept. They shouldn't be on there. Nobody really knows how to get off the list. That there's a what people call a due process problem here. How do you solve that?
Yeah,
Okay, now on getting off that list, it is hell to get off of that list as it currently stands. And I knew somebody that was on that list that shouldn't have been on that list. It took that guy a year, and I mean he stayed on that. Trying to get off that no-fly list, and had to ultimately hire an attorney and go into court. Once he got that done, I think it cost him about 15 grand in order to get his day in court and finally get off that list. So getting off that no-fly list is a pain in the ass. Now, this is my suggestion. On the purchase of weapons, they should have 5 days. 5 days in order to clear somebody as far as purchasing a handgun is concerned. A handgun is more of a defensive weapon. And I would include shotguns with that handgun because, in my mind, those two weapons are personal defense weapons. They should have at least 30 days to clear somebody from purchasing an AR-15 style weapon, because those are offensive weapons. Okay, yes, you do use them for hunting, etc., 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 but they are offensive weapons. 30 days should be given as far as a time frame for clearing somebody or not clearing somebody. Now, you have to make sure that whoever's doing the review does their job. So you're probably going to have to hire a bunch of people in order to keep up with the flow. And especially when there's a gun scare and zillions of people are going out and buying, all kinds of weapons. But in my mind, 5 days, handgun, shotgun, 30 days, AR. Okay. Number two, once they're denied, they should be provided with a reason for the denial. Now, you don't have to necessarily give the reason to the retailer. You can give them a toll-free number. They call the number and get the reason, and then if they want to challenge the reason, they should be given the process which should be written out so that there's no misunderstanding. They should be given the process that they can use to appeal the decision if they so choose to. More than likely, their best move right off the bat would be to get an attorney. And if you have enough of these, you'll have attorneys specializing in this crap. So possibly the cost won't be 15 grand.
By due process.
And how quickly?
There is an administrative appeal, and you can go to a court. And that's the traditional appeal, and that is available in these cases.
But will it be easy? I mean, we're talking about basically a right guaranteed by the Constitution, so that's denied by an appeals process that people can get lost in. What guarantees can you give people that they would be able to get off this list quickly?
None. It's going to take you a while to get off the list. So no matter what she says, this is not going to be a quick process.
Oh, please. First of all, I'm saying that the great overwhelming part of this list, 99.5%, are foreigners. They come in, there's reason for them to be suspect. They'll go through the same appeal process anybody else goes through. I don't think there's any need to give them any special privilege on an appeals list. If their name is pinged and the Attorney General's office looks into it and makes a decision that there is compelling evidence, not necessarily probable cause, which is Cornyn's, but reasonable suspicion that this could be a terrorist threat, they can deny the weapon.
You mentioned Senator Cornyn's bill. Is that your disagreement on the Republican side, that the standard, explain what the problem is?
The standard is too high because you can just arrest the person.
Right.
So that would cut out a lot of people who are probable threats. And it has to be completed within 3 days, which Justice and others tells us is impossible to complete the process within 3 days.
I go along with that. Like I said, 3 days. 3 days, in my opinion, is not enough time. I'd go to 5 days on a handgun, shotgun, as I stated before, and 30 days on any type of AR-15, etc. Now, if you're going with a carbine, obviously it's not a semi-automatic weapon, and I could see some dickering with that. But anything that can load a magazine that you can load with 10 rounds, 30 rounds, 100 rounds, that one, I want to take my time on that one to make sure we get it right.
Let me ask you this. The president has called for what he calls the assault weapons ban to be reinstated in the wake of this massacre. Where are you on this? That obviously is legislation you're responsible for. Can it come back? Are you working to bring it back?
Not going to happen. Not going to happen. People love their AR-15s, and even if you were able to get a ban on new sales, you got somewhere around 5 million AR-15s floating around out there right now. What are you going to do about those? Zippo.
Well, we wrote the bill that passed in 1993, was law for 10 years. After Sandy Hook, we wrote a modified bill, and it didn't pass. I think Senators Murphy and Booker and Blumenthal and Bennett and others who went to the floor made a very clear case to bring this back. Let me tell you what the problem is, and let me just be very candid. I debated Wayne LaPierre 24 years ago on the assault weapons legislation. I just ran into him leaving your set. I deeply believe that these weapons of war don't belong on the streets. And I've tried now 3 times. The question comes, how deeply embedded are members of the Senate and the House to the National Rifle Association? Because you will never be able to meet what the National Rifle Association wants and achieve anything that will take the AR-15, the Sig Sauer, and every year there's a new weapon, more dangerous than the weapon that came before it. So I think it's really the resolve of the people of America. 82% of people by test see the national security concerns and say, yes, use this terrorist watch list. Yes, give the Attorney General the right to stop a gun sale.
All right, Senator Feinstein, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
All right, and it comes down to emotion. Second Amendment, people love it. People get their hands on their weapons, and once they start using them, for the most part, they love it. I'm going to be honest with you. I was an anti-gun guy when I was in New York and in California. When I got to Texas, looked around, saw which way the wind was blowing, I became a gun guy. Still am. I enjoy going out to the range or wherever and shooting my weapon. You know, great. It's a lot of fun. Doesn't hurt anybody. Do I absolutely have to do it? No, I don't. Do I enjoy doing it just as a whole lot of other people enjoy doing it? Yes, we do. But just like we had to make changes after 9/11 for airport security, we go through these security lines now. You got to take off your shoes. You know, you got to go through body scanners, etc. There needs to be an accommodation of some type in this matter. Now, I am absolutely not for gun confiscation, and they will never ever get gun confiscation through, so we don't really even have to go there. But when it comes to security, you know, we got to do what we got to do.